In my opinion, Arccos is the best app out there for statistics, on the course, shot tracking, all of that things. But there are 5 things that Arccos needs to really improve on so that they just separate themselves from everybody else in the market. I made a video a couple weeks ago talking about the 4 hidden features, talking about some great things that Arccos have. But I've used Arccos for 3 years, and I think there are 5 things that if they could just improve upon would just make the app that much better than everything else out there. So let's go in and look at the first one. The first thing, in my opinion, is the Caddie Preview. There is just, it's got to be AI based or something like that, because there are just some major flaws that the Caddie Preview has. The first major one being that on one hole, it'll say, hey, rip driver down the middle of this hole at 280 yards. And I'm like, all right, cool. I like that. And then on the next hole, it'll say, hit your driver 210 yards. Well, why don't I just hit a 4-iron? Okay, that's cool. I'll go down at the bottom and I'll choose don't have a choice to hit a 4-iron. So if my 4-iron is my 210, 215 club and Arccos tells me it's that, why am I going to hit a driver? Why am I going to bump a driver down there? That just, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And alluding to that, there's just so many times where you get up there and it's like, all right, hit a 7-iron 134. It's like, why don't I just hit my pitching wedge, which is my 138 club? Like, I don't understand how it does that sometimes. And there's no rhyme or reason. And the last major flaw with that preview caddy is I can't choose what club I want to hit. There may be times where I don't want to hit a driver off the tee. I just know the hole. Maybe it's something that, I don't feel comfortable going over, say, a crossing stream at 210, or it just is a weird. So, okay, I want to hit 5. What would that give me into the hole? I don't have the choice to choose a 5-iron. They just give you what they think is best. So it'll be driver, and then 3-wood for like really long par 5s. Or maybe on a par 3, it just says a 7-iron and an 8-iron. But it's your 9-iron distance. It's just the consistency with it just sometimes doesn't meet up. And that's why I think that they should give you the ability to choose what club you want to use and use the smart data from the app to then apply, okay, you want to hit 7-iron here. This is most likely where you're going to end up if you do decide to choose that. Okay, is it going to be a layup? Is it going to be a long shot? So it gives you more of the ability. And I think that they need to allow the user to choose in the preview caddy, not just what the AI decides that it wants you to do. The second thing on my list are missed shots and added shots. It's just, you really kind of do have to babysit it. It's just something that comes with the app. And, when you get done a hole, sometimes you have to add a shot here and there. Sometimes if you're playing with a buddy and you go 40 yards closer to their ball, it might pick up a shot. And it's so inconsistent sometimes that the whole point of Arccos, in my opinion, is, throw the phone in your pocket and go play around a golf, check on it every once in a while. But, if you're really not paying attention to what the app's doing, you're really going to get to the end of your round and be like, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So I think that just the idea of maybe picking up when the sensors are up, when the ball hits, it's just the combination of it. I know what the app is trying to do, but I feel like the false positives and the missed shots are sometimes a little bit too much, in my opinion. Hey, don't forget to like and subscribe and join me with all this Arccos stuff and my journey to get to scratch. So, just a little plug to myself. Please, hang out with me. Thanks. My third thing for Arccos is that the putter sensor is complete trash. There's just no reason to have it on your club. It just doesn't do anything for you when you're up there. It misses probably 90% of your putts. The way that they tell you to do it is to put the putter down, hold it really still. It's like, I'm not going to build a sensor into my putting routine. I already have a putting routine. I have an idea of everything that I want to do. I'm not going to change just because there's a putter sensor or something like that. So that is a really disappointing thing. In reality, tip for you, they have a GPS and it'll kind of show a picture of the green and then kind of like ghost trails of where you kind of walked. And that really, for me, I don't even have the sensor on. After I putt, I kind of know where the pin was and I know where my ball was because it has these ghost trails on the green. I'll show a picture. And I'll just add in my putts from there. I already know I walk off all of my putts, so I get a really nice solid line kind of going back and forth from where the pin was to where my putt was. So That's more useful, I think, than the putter sensor. Get rid of the putter sensor and just tell people to do it on their own, in my opinion. The fourth thing, and probably my most annoying thing about this whole entire app, is they do not have an option for a forced layup or a recovery shot. It is so ungodly annoying. So let's say you go out there and you got a 350-yard hole and you bomb one 300 yards down there. So you're 50 yards up to the green and you're directly behind a tree. So there is no way to put in the app that this is not my approach shot. So I've done a couple of videos going back into earlier this year analyzing, and I said one of the things that I do really often is I come up short a lot. And that's something that I need to work on. And then I started going through these rounds this year, and I'm realizing that I'm really not that short that often. I mean, I am, but in reality, it's counting these recovery shots or, times where you just can't go for the green. And it's just my intention is not to get it on the green. There's no way to tell Arccos, like, hey, that was not my approach. I purposely intended to hit it 30 yards short and left because I was blocked out by the trees. So I really think that that's probably something that they can incorporate because they have the setting in there. Because if you do it for a par 5, it says layup. So why can't I make that option for a par 4? I mean, if you really want to, a par 3, maybe it's really long. But if your intentions sometimes aren't to go for the green, I don't understand why that comes up as a negative and hurts you when it comes to your stats. So that's the fourth one. And then last but not least, they have really good customer service, don't get me wrong, but a lot of times if they can't figure out what's wrong with your app or if you're having a little bit of trouble, the answer is always, oh, just completely uninstall the app and then re-sign it. It is so annoying to do that because it takes a whole bunch of time. And then you got to redo all of your stuff when you go back into the app. And it's like, I just don't understand. My biggest thing right now is that I cannot choose any course except for my home course. My work around for that is that if I search a course and I make it a favorite and I click on it, it still comes back to my home course. But then when I go back into search and I just click on it in my favorites, it'll then pop up. I've talked to the customer service a couple times and they're like, yeah, I don't know if we've ever heard of that one before. Why don't you just uninstall your app and reinstall it? The amount of time I've probably done it in the last 3 years, probably 8 or 9 times, just because something really weird happens. Whether it's rounds not popping up and stuff, it's just, I don't want to have to restart, like uninstall and reinstall an app because of something really stupid. So I'm not doing it for this one because you got to redo your goals. You got to redo everything that setting up the app itself. It's not that difficult, but I mean, it's going to take you half an hour to do. And I just feel like I don't really want to do that. So that's my fifth gripe, and it's a kind of a minor one, but when you're spending $200 and some a year on a subscription, for them to just be like, oh yeah, uninstall your app and do it again, it's kind of bullshit. So in my opinion, those are the 5 things that Arccos really needs to fix and get their game better. Because from an app standpoint, it really is nice. It really is something that I enjoy using. You got to babysit it a little bit more than I think people realize initially, but for the stats, for everything that it gives you, I really do think it's great. But there are just some of these things that they need to fix so that it just makes it a little bit better of a user experience, in my opinion. So I really appreciate you hanging out. Remember to like, subscribe, do all those fun things. I enjoy making these videos. So just come along for the ride. I'm doing a whole thing this year about trying to get to scratch. So come join me for that. I appreciate you for being here. Thanks.